Nobody predicted this. Not the analysts, not the betting markets, not the journalists who spent 3 months covering every squad announcement, every tactical briefing, every training camp drama across 48 nations. Not one person in the football world, not one, looked at the 2026 World Cup draw, saw Switzerland's path through the bracket and said, "That's your winner." And yet here we are, Switzerland, world champions. The most unlikely story in the history of the tournament. A country of 8 million people, smaller than London, smaller than New York City, standing at the top of the sport at the precise moment the sport had assembled more talent in one place than at any point in its history. A team built on defensive discipline, collective structure, and the specific, uncomfortable talent of one man who nobody, not even the Swiss themselves, had ever fully figured out how to use. Xherdan Shaqiri, 25 years old. At the precise moment in his career when the power in his left foot is operating at levels that the human eye genuinely struggles to process. And in this alternate 2026 timeline, someone finally figured out how to build a team around it. But I need to warn you about something before we go further. This story gets strange. Not strange in the way football stories usually get strange. The kind of strange that makes you question what football is actually about. Because Switzerland's 2026 World Cup run doesn't just rewrite Swiss football history. It asks a question that the rest of the sport is still trying to answer. Let's go back to where this actually begins. Not in Switzerland, not in a training camp or a tactics meeting. In a hotel room in Geneva, 3 weeks before the tournament. Shaqiri is alone, laptop on the bed, watching film. Not opposition footage, his own footage. The overhead kick against Ecuador in 2014. He watches it 6 times. On the 6th viewing, he pauses at the exact moment his left foot makes contact with the ball. He sits with that image for a full minute. Then he calls the Swiss manager. What happens during that call is not fully public record. What his assistant, who was in the room, later described to a journalist, the manager picked up a pen 4 minutes in. He pulled a blank tactical sheet toward him. He drew a formation. He put the pen down. He listened for 2 more minutes without speaking. Then he said 2 words, "Come in." The following morning, Shaqiri arrives at the Swiss training complex. They sit together for 3 hours. The formation the manager has drawn is asymmetric. It places Shaqiri not wide, not tucked behind a striker, but centrally in the space between the opposition's midfield and defensive lines. A free role. Switzerland have never played with a free role. Not in any major tournament. Their identity for 20 years has been exactly the opposite. Organized, disciplined, everyone knowing their position to the millimeter. And now, 3 weeks before the biggest tournament on earth, the entire structure depends on one man's instincts. Here's the thing nobody talks about. That man's instincts are catastrophically good. The word catastrophically is intentional. His instincts produce decisions so far outside the expected range that they appear catastrophic until the ball arrives in the net, at which point they appear inevitable. But catastrophic instincts only work when the players around them know how to respond. And a manager has 21 days to teach a squad that has spent 3 years learning a completely different system, an entirely new footballing language. They don't manage it completely, but they manage it enough. Because here is the specific insight nobody else in international football had fully processed before 2026. Switzerland's defensive discipline, the very thing that made them respectable but never genuinely dangerous, is not a limitation in this new formation. It is the foundation that makes it possible. When you remove predictability from a disciplined team, when you place one genuinely unpredictable element at the center of an organized structure, the opposition doesn't know where to look. Do they manage the organization or the unpredictability? Both. And preparing for both means preparing for neither completely. Group stage, match 1. Switzerland versus a highly fancied South American side who have studied every tactical pattern from the last 3 years of Swiss tournament preparation. They have not prepared for the 11th minute. Shaqiri receives the ball in central space. 2 midfielders close. He takes 1 touch. His left foot produces a shot of such violence and precision, 29 yards dipping sharply in the final 2 meters, that the goalkeeper, a man who has played in 3 Champions League finals, does not attempt to save it. He watches it go in. The stadium takes 3 full seconds to react. 62,000 people needing confirmation that what they just witnessed happened within the laws of physics that apply to football. It did. Switzerland win 2-0. Clean sheet. Shaqiri assists the second with a 43-yard pass that bends fractionally into the exact corridor the defensive shape is left open. The opposition analyst reviewing the footage spends 17 minutes on that single pass. He writes in his report, "The pass is technically explicable. The decision to attempt it is not." Group stage complete, Switzerland top, 3 wins, 8 goals, 3 clean sheets. The conversation has shifted from, can Switzerland compete? To something nobody was prepared to ask. Can anyone stop them? Round of 16. A former World Cup winner. Their manager spends 4 days specifically on Shaqiri. He identifies something real. When Shaqiri receives the ball facing away from goal with a press closing quickly from his left, the range of outcomes narrows. The catastrophic unpredictability reduces slightly. For 7 minutes and 43 seconds, the plan holds. In the 8th minute, the opposition right midfielder tracks his immediate opponent rather than holding his positional shape. For 4 seconds, exactly 4 seconds, the central space the manager has spent 4 days closing opens slightly. Shaqiri receives, top right corner, 27 yards, 6 inches from where the goalkeeper's hands are already going. Goal. Switzerland win 1-0. The manager watches the sequence 4 times at halftime. He doesn't watch the shot, he watches the 4 seconds. Because what he understands, and what he tells his players with remarkable calmness, is that 4 seconds of one small mistake is all Shaqiri needs. And you cannot build a system that prevents every small mistake for 90 minutes. Quarter-final, a European powerhouse, 3-time finalists. Their manager doesn't try to stop Shaqiri, he tries to isolate him, to keep the Swiss structure so occupied that by the time the ball reaches Shaqiri, he has less time and space than he needs. For 51 minutes, this works moderately well. Shaqiri has had 3 shots, dangerous, manageable. 10 touches fewer than his group stage average. Then in the 52nd minute, the Swiss left back plays a ball forward under pressure that should not have been attempted. An opposition midfielder wins it cleanly and turns. Except Shaqiri has already moved. He is 12 meters further forward, on a completely different angle, in a positional channel that the tactical plan did not predict. The midfielder looks up to begin the counterattack. He sees Shaqiri already running at his defensive line. By the time the European defensive shape registers the new position, Shaqiri has received from a Swiss midfielder who, operating on 3 weeks of new footballing language, knew exactly where he would be. The shot from inside the area is low, near post, hit at a weight the goalkeeper cannot get down to in time. 1-0. Switzerland win. The European manager stops the footage at the moment Shaqiri moves 12 meters into the new position. He asks his analysis staff one question. At what point in the sequence does he decide to move there? Nobody can answer him. The answer, which nobody in that room knows but which will later be discussed in football analytics for years, is before the Swiss left back plays the poor pass, before the situation that allows the movement to be useful even exists. He anticipated it, not the specific pass, the type of chaos, the kind of moment a player under pressure creates, and he pre-positioned for it. This is why the data models cannot explain Shaqiri's left foot. The data models explain what happens after the decision. They cannot explain how the decision is made before the situation that requires it exists. Semifinals. And here the story becomes something different. Switzerland face a team from Shaqiri's background, from his family history, the flags he wore on his boots in 2014, and felt the full weight of football's politics afterward. The identity he has carried with the specific difficulty of someone who belongs to 2 places simultaneously and is always being asked to choose. He has never spoken at length publicly about what this match means. He doesn't need to. His teammates know. The manager knows. And in the warm-up, several of them watch him moving through his routine and arrive at the same quiet understanding independently. He completes 11 dribbles, 6 shots, 2 goals, 1 assist. Switzerland win 3-1. His second goal, a right foot volley from 12 yards that he should not physically have reached at that angle, produces 30 seconds of silence in broadcast commentary booths across 14 countries. None of the commentators can find the words in time. After the final whistle, Shaqiri walks to the corner flag. He stands there alone for 30 seconds. Nobody approaches him. His teammates watch from a distance. Then one of them walks over. puts an arm around his shoulders. Shaqiri turns. He is smiling. Not the performance smile of a footballer in a post-match interview. The private smile of a man who has just done something that required him to be every version of himself simultaneously, and found that all those versions combined are more than enough. The final. Switzerland versus a team that has won this tournament before, twice. A squad filled with players whose individual talent exceeds anything Switzerland has produced in their entire football history. No reasonable analysis gives Switzerland a path to victory, except the Swiss team has stopped operating within reasonable analysis. The match is level at 1-1 after 64 minutes. Shaqiri has scored Switzerland's goal. A free kick from 22 yards, left foot, top right corner, delivered with the specific deliberateness of a man who has been visualizing this exact situation since the hotel room in Geneva. The opposition goalkeeper's post-match comment is one sentence. "I saw it. I just couldn't get there." 1-1, 64 minutes. The opposition's most dangerous forward, a player who has scored in every round of the tournament, receives the ball 30 meters from goal, beats the first Swiss defender, accelerates. He is through. Shaqiri has no defensive responsibility in this moment. The correct positional decision, the one every coaching textbook would endorse, is to hold his position and prepare for the counter if Switzerland clear. He sprints, full pace, back toward his own goal. He arrives beside the forward at the moment the shot is being shaped. His left shoulder connects with the forward's right hip. Legal, precise, committed. 2 degrees. The shot goes wide by 2 degrees, the difference between the net and the post introduced by the contact. Switzerland clear. 2 passes. The counter is immediate. The specific movement pattern drawn on a tactical sheet in a Geneva hotel room 3 weeks before the tournament. Shaqiri is through, 1-on-1. The goalkeeper guesses left. Shaqiri hits it right, 2-1. They hold on, 26 minutes. Every second earned, contested, defended collectively. The final whistle comes. 8 million people, world champions. In the days that follow, beneath all the analysis and debate and tactical breakdowns, one question keeps surfacing. What took so long? What took the football world 20 years of watching Shaqiri play international football before someone said that is enough? That left foot, those instincts, that impossible decision-making is enough. Build around that. Trust that completely. The Swiss manager's answer, in his post-tournament press conference, football doesn't trust things it cannot explain. And Shaqiri's left foot cannot be explained. Not completely. The data captures what it produces. The analysis describes the outcomes. But the decisions themselves, particularly the decisions made before the situation that requires them even exists, live in a space that football's tools have not yet found the language for. Switzerland found a different language. They built a structure that didn't need to explain it, that simply made room for it, protected it, and allowed it to do what it has always been capable of doing. Trust. Complete, unconditional, irrational-looking trust in one man's left foot. Switzerland are world champions. That sentence should be impossible. It turns out the impossible ones are exactly the sentences worth saying.